Hi, Mark here, trust you're well. Welcome to this legacy recording of a live Lightroom support community event that I hosted back in June 2022. Over a few weeks, we explored exporting different scenarios, different ways, and understanding the tools that are available to you in exporting your images. Now, there's a multitude of ways, and we looked at this, answering questions as we went. So I hope this legacy recording helps you, and please remember that it was shot in 2022, so things may have changed because Adobe's changed their software. But the aim of publishing this members video is to get you to think about your workflow. If you'd like to come and join us, just visit lightroommark.com, and I look forward to welcoming you one day on one of our live events. Without any further ado, let's jump across to the recording and happy photography. So for the next, let's say 4 or 5 weeks, depending on how we go, going to be looking at getting our images out of Lightroom. So we spend a lot of time managing, keywording, metadata, editing, and then what do we do with them? And there's lots of different ways. So I wanted to, after what Tony talked about last week or the week before about sizes and things like that, is actually look at all the different ways that we can get things out. So tonight we're going to look at the fundamentals of exporting and presets and email. Okay, I've got a lovely graphic I'm going to stick in the chat, but I will attach it to the recording email on a link. So you've got all the sizes of how social media wants it. We're going to look at, we know about collections, but we're going to look quickly about collections, and what Joan was something interested in was web galleries. And the difference between the web gallery module and what collections are. So we're going to look at that, and all the different things that we can do, and how we can share on the web. So things like portfolio, collections, web gallery, and all the differences that, you know, fundamentally they look the same. They're on the website, but there are quite key strategic differences. We're going to look at slideshow, which we haven't done for a long time, and we're going to look at the print module as well. And if we have time before the summer, we'll spend a couple of nights on the map module. Is that okay with everyone?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right, okay. So, hi Sue.
Evening.
You okay?
Hi everyone. Hi Sue.
Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open the chat. Hopefully I can drop that in there. Should be a graphic, should have been sent to you, and that is all the sizes of how social media, so Facebook, all the sizes of their images, and it's important when we get to our presets. So, boom, get rid of that. So we hide that, and we hide that. So now you should just see a blank screen or grey screen, which you do. Get rid of me there. Okay. So I haven't done anything forward planning for you this evening because I wanted to show it to you bare as Lightroom is, because most of you probably will be having it as it is. So I'm going to go to a collection. Let's see what I've got. Let's have a quick look. That's going to be quite big because they're panoramics. So let's just take this image here. Okay, so I've got an image here, okay, and I want to share this, or somehow I want to take it out of Lightroom. Okay. Now, Lightroom is a RAW editor. So it's a DNG file, which is Adobe's RAW format, digital negative. If you're a Canon shooter, it'll be CR2 unless you convert it to DNG. Nikon is an NEF file or an NRW. There are other RAW formats out there, but I converted a few years ago totally to digital negative, which is Adobe's format. So websites, Word documents, PowerPoint documents, spreadsheets, all those type of things can't see this photograph, okay? Because it's a RAW editor, all right? Everyone understand that?
Yeah.
Okay. So we need to convert it into a format that other people or other programs can see it. And that's quite straightforward. It's File, Export. Okay, and up comes this export dialog with a lot of presets. I'm going to talk about presets in a minute, but I'm just going to go through this. Let's move my mouse out of the way so we don't get all the clicking. We're just going to go through it to start with. And we've got hard drive, email, CD, and then these are apps. Okay, you might not have these, but we're going to talk about hard drive at the moment. Hold that one. Okay, so we're going to look at hard drive. So the first drop down is, where is the export going to go to? Okay, so let me just explain something first. When you look at a RAW file in the develop module, it's the physical file and the adjustments that are placed over the top. So do you all remember a piece of tracing paper, and we used to draw around what was behind it and perhaps colouring? That's exactly the principle. But the tracing paper is the line in the catalogue of all the adjustments that we've done, because Lightroom is a non-destructive workflow. Okay? So when you look in the library module, you're looking at a preview. Okay? When you look in the develop module, you're looking at the raw file with the piece of tracing paper on top, which has all your adjustments on it. So when you do a virtual copy, that's a second piece of tracing paper. All right? A third virtual copy is another piece, and they're different copies. You have the original underneath and the piece of tracing paper on the top, and you take the piece of tracing paper away, put it another one on top, that's a virtual copy, and you do your adjustments on there. Okay, when you export your file, your photograph, what it does, it makes a second file. It takes the raw file and the piece of tracing paper, the information that you've put in the catalogue. So that's your metadata. So IPTC, so keywords, description, title, your information, all the adjustments. It brings it together and creates a new file. Okay? That's what exporting is. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah? Mm-hmm. Yeah? Okay. And you don't need to keep that export because you can rebuild it. So once you've put it on a chip, sent it by an email or something, you can just delete it off your machine because you can rebuild it. Okay? So let's go back to share. So let's just hide that panel again, which is that one. Okay, so we've got the export. And the first part of the export is, where is it going to go? Where are we going to put that file? Okay, the file that we're going to make. This image here, along with the information that's on or in the catalogue. Okay, now for me, my workflow is I put it on my desktop, because once a week or so I go to this file. Okay, so if I go into Finder and I go, oh, it's not there, so let's go there, User, Lightroom, Desktop, Exports, LRC Exports. I go here and I delete these. Okay, because I can remake these at any point. Okay, I go in, see it's got draft, and I can rebuild these if I want at a later date. So I go in every week or so and I just delete the lot. So that's why I have it on the desktop, because I can rebuild it. It's generally using up more disk space and so on. So this is the location for me. You can change the location by clicking on choose. Okay, but I just have it on a folder on my desktop called LRC exports. Okay, I've got other folders on my desktop, LRC-imports. They're files that I'm going to import, and they're going to move it out of that desktop folder and put them somewhere. But inside this folder, you can see I've got one called Facebook. That's the next box down. You can create a subfolder, and I can create that, Lightroom Monday. Lightroom Mondays, okay? And it will create a folder in there called Lightroom Mondays when I export them, okay? By ticking that box. Now the next box down is actually, I thought I'd never use it, but it does come in handy. When you export something, you want to bring it back into Lightroom. Now why would you do that? Anyone got any ideas? No? No? Okay, well...
If you want to make further adjustments.
Sorry?
If you want to make further adjustments.
Save them to export again somewhere else.
Well, I can't... I hear what you're saying. I'm just trying to think, why would I want to make further adjustments? Why wouldn't I make that adjustments on a virtual copy or something like that? The only reason what I can think of is either creating a footprint of what I had done for commercial purposes, or I wanted a watermark to appear in a collection on the web. Because at the moment you can't put a watermark on an image in Lightroom and share it in a collection on the web, on a web gallery. So I would export, and I'm going to show you in a minute, export it with my watermark on, automatically re-import it, and then add it to that collection and put it in the cloud, and it would have my watermark on it. So let's just say I was a wedding photographer. There's my 60 images, and I wanted draft or copyright written across, or event photographer or something like that. I wanted that across there, and I wanted to create a web gallery. Okay? So I would export them with my logo, watermark, draft, whatever, allow them to re-import them, add them to the collection automatically on import, and it will put them in the cloud for me straight away. Okay? That's the only thing I can think of, because at the moment there isn't the functionality of putting a watermark on a collection image. So let's go back there. Load that again. Okay, so we can stack the images if we wish, and we can ask it to do these things when we export them. So choose a new name, overwrite. So if we've already exported the file and we've looked at it and go, that's not quite right, I want to make an adjustment, it can ask us, do we want it to overwrite the one that we've already exported it? So perhaps we exported the wrong size, or we didn't put our watermark on it or something, and it would overwrite it. It would ask us to do it again. So ask us. So that's where it's going, okay? File renaming. So sometimes some photographers might only file rename on export. So I couldn't think of a way until I met a wedding photographer, and they wanted their 60 images not to be in shutter actuation number, so 543, wanted it to be 001, 002, 003, 004, and wanted it to say Smith and Jones 001, Smith and Jones 002, Smith and Jones 00, and Smith and Jones was the bride and groom. Okay, so the bride and groom didn't know whether there was 300 pictures taken or 3,000 pictures taken. They only saw pictures from the numbering 1 to 60, because the story I was told, the customer wanted to see all the images. Well, if I sent them 543, they'll say, where's 544 and 545 and 546 if 547 was the next one that I sent them? So you might want to rename them on export. Okay, and you can do that here, and you can have a preset. You can click on a preset and rename it. Okay. Video. So that's straightforward, file format, etc. This isn't a video file. Now this is where it gets interesting. File settings. Okay, so what format do you want it to be? Okay, so JPEG, PSD, TIFF file, PNG. Mrs. Peg, what's a PNG? Does she know? Pass, you should know. Come on. Come on. It's a transparent file. Okay. So you can have, like my logo is here in the bottom left corner, or at 9 o'clock, you've got the logo, but it's transparent on the background, and the background's coming through. Okay, it's a PNG. You can export it from a PSD to a DNG, or keep it in the original file format. But most pictures are exported as a JPEG. Quality, 100%. Okay, you can change the quality. Okay, anything from 80 to 100% is usually fine. And then the file format. Now, if it's going to the web, Adobe RGB or sRGB are the two that you would use. Email those two. You might want to limit the size of the file. Okay, so 1,000. What is it? 1,000? 10,000. Wow, it's 1,000. 1,000. That's 1 megabyte. Okay, so you might want not to have a massive, great big file. Okay, and you can limit, rather than size, as in dimensions, you can do it as in file size. Okay, and that's where you would do it there. Then we get to, this is the interesting part, image size. So if you want to, and this is the whole image. So this is the whole image all the way around. This is not a crop. This is the whole image, the file image. So height, width and height, dimensions, length, shortest, longest side, megapixels, percentage. You can select them all in here and type it in the boxes, okay? Do inches, centimeters, pixels. And there's two, you have to remember there's two numbers. One is 72, so that's electronic pixels per inch. Or the other one is 300 when it's printed. Okay, so if you're doing a print, so if I wanted to do we'll change that to inches. I want to do a 10 inch by 8 inch, which is roughly A4, print at 300 dots per inch. That's what I would type in. And this side up and down would be 10 inches, or and the other side will be 8 inches. Okay, and at 300, and it would give me the correct size print for that image to be printed at that size. Okay, that makes sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, output sharpening. This exactly is, we sharpen our images in the develop module, but usually the way our modern technology works is that when we do something, it loses a little bit of sharpness. So when we export them, we just want to give it a little kick, a little sharpness between the contrast of the blacks and the whites, and we can sharpen it screen, matte paper and gloss paper. That's the ink soaks into the paper differently, and we can go low, standard or high, usually just standard, and if it's a screen, that's it. Just gives it a tweak of sharpness. Now this is your metadata, so your name, your address, your location, your email address. You can select all these different options. Why would you want to do this? Well, the photograph might be sensitive. Okay, you took a picture with your phone, it's at home, you want to remove the location because you don't want it's going to go up onto Facebook. You don't want everyone to know where you live. Okay, because they can go right click, and I was showing somebody the other day that every picture they took with their iPhone, there it is. And if they put it up into Facebook, I know Facebook does strip some metadata out, but you put it on Instagram or whatever, people can see where you live. You know, if you write at home in the garden, boom, they can go right click and see where you live. Lightroom removes that. And you can actually have settings so it can remove whatever you want to do. So includes only the copyright information, only copyright and contact details. Okay, you can select what you want, remove all your personal data, and remove the location. Watermark, we will look at watermark in a second, but what watermark do you want and where do you want it applied? Okay, right, and you can edit them here and so on, but we'll have a look at that in a second. You can untick it and tick it. And the last thing is, once it's exported, what do you want Lightroom to do? And you could say, show me a preview. Okay, so you can choose the application to open. There we go. And I've got it currently, after export, opening the application with the preview. You can say do nothing, showing Finder, opening Photoshop, open another application. But I normally have it either do nothing, showing Finder, or open in preview. So let's take this image. Okay, I'm going to stick it in export, Lightroom Classic Export. So I'm going to put it into Lightroom Monday folder. I'm not going to rename it. I'm going to keep it to JPEG sRGB 100%. The image size, I'm going to make it 1500. Oops, did that wrong. So 72 dots per inch at, let's make it 3000 so we can see it. Oh, it's inches, that's why. Get rid of that again. Change that to inches. I want pixels, that's better. 3000 by 2000, 72 dots per inch. So it's going to resize it. Output sharpen, full screen standard. I'm going to leave my personal information, remove the location. Going to put a watermark on it, and I'm going to put, because I know what it's going to do, Lightroom mark text across the image, and I'm going to ask it to show me the image when it does it. So export. It's going to export the one file. It's going to take all my adjustments, all this metadata on the right hand side, and it's going to apply it to the image. And it's taken a while for some reason, probably because lots of there we go, and there it is done. So, and I've got that watermark over. Okay, now I'm going to export that again, and I'm going to show you what we were talking about, importing it back in again. I'm going to make it a bit smaller. Let's make it 1500 by 1000, so it's the same aspect ratio. Going to make it down to 80%, so that'll do. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add it back to the catalogue, and so let's add it back to the catalogue. That should do. So export. See, it's come up. It's going to say, oh, I've already got a file here called that. I can give it a unique name if I wish. I can skip it. I can overwrite. So it's now going to overwrite it. Okay. Wait for it to finish. There's the image. And this would have been added back to the catalogue. So, and it should go the way I've got it set up. Show in library. G. See next to it? No, there it is. There it is there. Okay, so there it is back in the catalogue. Okay, now what I was talking about is if I wanted to make a collection to go in the cloud, So let's just make a collection set, and I'm going to call it 3 LR Cloud. Okay, and then I'm going to create a collection. Actually, what I should have done is go on. I'm pressing the shift key down because I'm in solo mode. Shift key brings the two panels working together. Command D for deselect. There we go. So I've got this image now highlighted. I'm going to create a collection, and LRM 20th 2020 0620. Not going to create a virtual copy, and I'm going to put it in my cloud collection. There we go. Collection, that's right. And I should now be able to sync with the cloud. For some reasons that's not syncing with the cloud. Don't know why. Syncs there. Start syncing. Might have a little problem there, but there we go. Okay, so there's my image, and that would sync with the cloud. But it would have this watermark in the cloud on the website. Okay? So if this was copyright, somebody could go right click. If it's a wedding photography, yeah, it could have draft on there or copy or something like that. Yeah? Yeah, can you see reason why?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Okay, so you might put your logo. So if I go back to the images that we were working on, which is 2020, wasn't it? No, can't remember the images we were working on now. It was in panoramics, wasn't it? So that one there. There it is, that one there. So I could take this image here, go File, Export. Going to change the watermark and put my logo watermark on it and export. I'm going to overwrite it. Okay, now don't think we can. My logo's down the bottom. It's a bit dark on this one, so you can't see it, but it will bring it back with my logo on there. Okay, so and then I could then share that in the cloud, okay, in this collection. Okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's just stop this for sharing for a second. Any questions about that fundamental screen of exporting? Nope.
So what? There's a button at the bottom left that says export. Why don't you use that one?
Okay, so jumping ahead.
Okay, I'll wait.
It's all right. Okay, right. So, okay. So we're going to export this image again. Let's just move this out of the way. Okay. So you are referring to this button down here.
Yeah.
Okay. So I go. Okay. What do I say? There's not one way of doing something. Yeah. So I historically go there. Do that. It's exactly the same. This is what David's on about. There's a button down here called Export, bottom left-hand corner. Okay. I historically go File, Export. Okay. There is a shortcut. Okay. All right. Shift Command E is export. You can actually do if you're doing a similar export, multiple images, you can go export previous, which is Shift Alt Command E or there. Okay. And whatever the previous settings were, it will export it to those. Okay. You can click on the image and export. And there's all your presets, which we're going to talk about in a minute. And you just go export. So there's more than one way of doing it. But yes, David's saying, why not use this button here? And you can, if that's the way you like to do it. Okay? Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're going to look at presets and that lovely PDF, or not PDF, JPEG that I've stuck in this. These are the pixels for the sizes of images. Okay, so most of us use Facebook here, and there we go. Facebook wants a picture. If it's a landscape image, 1,200 pixels by 630. Okay, so if we do a lot to Facebook, we can set up a preset, export. Okay, and I'm going to put this into my Facebook folder in my LRC exports. Okay, and I'm going to come down to file size, and what was it? 1200 by 638, wasn't it?
630.
630, was it? Thank you. Okay, all right, 630. Okay. However, before we do anything, because this is how Facebook wants it, if we click add, brings up a preset, because we all like presets, don't we? Okay. And you can create a folder, and there's one here called social media, and we type in there Facebook landscape and press create. Now you can see, look, Facebook landscape. So anything, I'm just going to cancel that, go G. Let's go back to there we go. So if I wanted to export all of it.
Panorama one, how would you do that?
Exactly the same. Exactly the same. It's exactly the same. Exactly the same.
Okay.
It would pro rata make that the right size. Okay? Right? So if I wanted to export that, I would go right click, export with a preset, landscape, Facebook. Everything's already done for me. And there it is. That's how Facebook wants to see it. And that is how Facebook is going to present it to your viewing audience. Okay? If you didn't make it that size, okay, Facebook would squash it. And it might not be how you want it. Okay? So, let's paint a scenario. I'm going to say Facebook. Right? Most of us use Facebook here, but this is really good for Instagram. Okay? The Instagram sizes are, well, it doesn't matter what the sizes are. Okay? This is where I would use that re-import back into Classic. Okay? So I'm going to go export, re-import this back to Classic here. Okay, and I'm going to tick the box. There we go. It's going to re-import it, batch import it, import, or it's export, and there we go. There it is there. Okay. So I've done it twice, and it's renamed it for me. Okay. Now, some social media, Instagram for example, it's only available on a mobile, or it might be convenient for you to share it on a mobile. Okay, so now if you add that to a collection, and you could have a collection called, you could have a folder under workflow. In my case, right, I'll go create a collection 3, Facebook sharing. Okay, not going to include that in a moment. All right, so I've got here Facebook sharing. I want to put that in there. There we go. So let's minimize these so it's all nice and tidy. All right, these two files are now ready, and they're synced to the cloud, so I can share them from my mobile device. Okay, they're in Lightroom in the cloud on my phone or on my tablet, but they're the right size. Okay, I've done it. I've exported them in Classic, re-imported them, synced them to the cloud. Okay, does everyone get what I'm trying to say? Yeah, I've used the tools in Classic to create the correct size, so I'm presenting to Facebook exactly with my logo or with my watermark or whatever, exactly how I want my images to appear in Facebook. Okay? But I might want to share them later on. It might be 11 o'clock at night. Nobody's on Facebook. Don't want to share them at 11 o'clock. Nobody's going to see them. So I've done all my editing. I've exported them. I've synced them. And I want to drip them out over the day or over the week. So I haven't put 500 images today up on my boat going to Iceland or on my cruise or in France or whatever and so on. I want to get them all ready, and I've exported them. I've put them in a collection. I then, throughout the day, just literally share them from my mobile phone in the collection. So this is where you would use that, re-import back again. Yeah, add back to the catalogue, and then sync them to the cloud in collections. Okay, all right. So you might on Facebook and on Twitter, for people on Twitter, you can do that from a web browser on your machine here. But if you want to do them in Instagram, you have to do it from your mobile phone. So you could get the size right, whether you wanted a square Instagram or whether you wanted a show reel, story reel, which is a portrait type, or you wanted a landscape Instagram. You could put it into an Instagram collection, share on Instagram, stick it in the cloud, and then once you've shared it on Instagram, you just delete it from that collection. Okay? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? It's a different way of working. Not saying it's the right way of working, but it's a different way of working. Okay? So, go back to those exporting. Okay, so this side, this here, these dimensions, you might have in my main work catalog. I've got a whole long list of different names and so on under user presets and social media. So once I've set it up, I've actually got different ones for different watermarks in different locations. Okay, so if I go edit watermark, all right, so there's my logo there. I can change the size of my logo. This is a graphic logo. I could put the graphic logo in the middle of the picture like that. I could make it, this is proportion, okay? So whatever's the size, if you tell it you want to make it 10, proportion to, it'll always look that size on whatever the export is. It will make it pro rata. It's a live, it won't appear like that all the time. It'll appear how you want it to appear. But if you want it to go top left, and you can now save this as a logo. So this could say, for example, save current as a new one. So you could go Lightroom mark logo top left corner. Okay. All right. So I'm going to save the watermark. So it's there. Press done. So there we go. I'm going to use on this export my logo top left corner. But now what I would do is go landscape, Facebook, landscape, Lightroom mark, logo, top left corner. Okay, press create, because now I've got all these settings saved. And I've got a whole long list of all these settings, so I haven't got to go, because I don't know. Okay, let's have a look. Let's go there. All right, the logo might not be in the appropriate place. Okay, I might want the logo here in the middle, on this image here in the middle, but on the next image I might want it bottom right hand corner. And rather than keep messing around doing it, I save presets for each of the logos in each of the positions. Okay, so if I take this one, go export, and then if I change the watermark to Lightroom Mark Text, export it. Boom, 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 boom. I could have saved that as a preset. Come on. There we go. It's got like a light, and I've saved this. But if I want this across the bottom, because I don't want somebody not to pay me for this image, okay, I put it across the bottom. Somebody could actually crop the image, but they can't crop the image now to get that out of the way. If I was a wedding photographer or something, yeah. And Lightroom will put Lightroom Mark across every single image. So if I go G, and let's just select these 4, and we go export. This is just the way I do it. It's muscle memory, okay? And I'm going to show these images. Okay, I'm going to overwrite it for a moment. Let me just wait for it to export these 4. So it's building all this information. It's looking at the pictures. It's adding all the data, all these keywords. Okay, all the edits. It's doing it to each of these 4 images. And once it's done, and it's applying that watermark, it could be a text watermark. It could be a graphic watermark. You could create something really complex. Alamy, one of the stock agencies, have got their logo, but then they've got tiny little A's all over the picture. So there's like about 30 little watermarks all over the picture. So it's really difficult to, to use it without the watermarks, without paying for it. You might want to do that. You might just want to put your logo on it. Okay, so we're nearly there. Remember, these are 50 meg files. There we go. And here we go. So there's the first image I've exported. There's the next image. There's the next image. There's the next. So all 4 of them are there. Okay, all exported. And because I ticked the box, there they are back in. Now I could then click here and go share. There they are. They're in the folder. That's going to sync with the cloud. Okay. Does that all make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you build a set of presets for export. How you want to do. Most of you will have a Facebook, and if you've got some of you got a logo, you put a logo on it, and they will then be the right size to put on Facebook. Okay, and that's as simple as that. Okay, you don't have to put them all at Facebook at once. They could be holiday pictures, and you want to do one a day, or a story, or something, or perhaps you're creating an interest in a project that you want to photograph, or perhaps you might say, right, I've gone to X RSPB sanctuary or something, and you've got 30 pictures of blue tits or swans or whatever, and they're lovely, but you don't want to bombard your family and friends with 30 pictures of swans. So you might edit them all and so on, and then drip them out over one a week or something like that. Yeah, but they're all the right size. They're all how you want to present them. Okay. Does everyone understand the exporting? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's quite simple, but it's a fundamental stone in getting your images out of Lightroom. Okay. When I do the recording, that graphic, I'll either put a link depending on how I send it, or I will attach it so you've got all the sizes for all the media. They do like to change them. Okay. And there may be one that I've missed it or whatever and so on, but you can quite easily Google it and find, I want the profile picture size, how big is it, and things like that and so on. Okay, so now I know Mrs. Peg knows the answer to this question, so you've got out of this question because I set your computer up to do it, or perhaps it might have been your old one. You can email from Lightroom Classic. Okay? And there's two ways of doing it. So, going to share. Get rid of that. Okay, so I'm going to take this image here and I want to email this image. So as David says, we can go right click and we come down and it should say, where is it? Who can find it first? There we go. Email photo. We can go there. Okay. There's no shortcut that I'm aware of. We can go file, email photo. Okay. And we can go export, change the drop down, email photo. Okay. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go right click, email photo, and it comes up with this pop-up. Okay. Who uses an email client on their laptop or computer?
What does that mean?
Okay, who uses email on their computer?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So, if you've got... Miss Roberts doesn't. You haven't got an email client on Classic? No, you haven't. I didn't. Or unless you've set it up recently, I haven't put email on your Mac. We don't. You don't. You don't.
I thought you said you use email on your
Yeah.
laptop.
Yeah. Okay. On your laptop, but this is from Classic. On the computer that you use Classic, have you got email?
An email account.
Right. Okay. So
We did it a couple of years ago, maybe.
no, we didn't. I didn't set it up. It's whether you set it up.
Not used it,
So on the so I'll rephrase it then. So on the computer you use Classic. Who uses an email client? An email program? Yeah, Helen does. Mrs. Clark, you've only got on your laptop. Is that right? Email. Okay. So Joan, have you got email on your?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. David, have you got email on your Mac?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Okay. So there's two ways you can email from Classic. One is really simple, and I think the majority of people probably will use it. And the second way is a little bit more complicated to set up, but I think it's a better way of doing it. Okay? But that's my personal choice. It's not the right way for some people. Okay. And some people prefer the first way. I'm going to show you how to do it. Okay, so let's just cancel it for a second. Right click, email photo. We type in the address, who it's going to, subject line. This is, you can type in whatever you want here. You've got fonts and everything and so on. Down the bottom, we've got presets. We can make our own preset in how we want to email it. Okay, so these are standard ones that come with Lightroom. But if you turn around and say, I always want my images to be emailed at 1500 pixels, 72 dots per inch, you can put a preset, what I've just showed you, and it'll appear in here. Okay, all right. There's the attachment here, and most people will have in here your email client where it says Lightroom Mark. It will have, if you've got AOL, if you've got Apple Mail, if you've got Outlook, or if you've got Windows Mail on your computer, it will say there. Okay. And all you do is you type your email address. You got an address book if you want. You can import. Addresses. You can save addresses. You can CC emails in. Okay. You can change the font. Okay, for the email, just like a normal email client. When you send it, you can change the size of the writing. Okay, so you can write in here whatever you want. But if you've got Apple Mail, it will then create this email and put it in your email client, your normal email program. Okay, So Lightroom will create everything and then stick the email in your outbox in Apple Mail or Microsoft Outlook or Microsoft Exchange or AOL Mail or Yahoo Mail. If you've got a desktop client on your computer, you select it from that drop down. Okay? Most of you will probably want to do it that way. Why? Because it creates a record of you sending it. It's just like you sending a normal email. Yeah? It's in your outbox, it goes into sent and sent it. Yeah? The negative point of it, if you've got restrictions on your account, you can only send a 5 meg file, for example, that's all you'll be able to send. Okay? If, like I do, I'm not saying it's better or different, it's the way I prefer to do it, and it's the way that I've always done it. Okay, I'm going to go right click and email it. I've set up an email address with my client to send it directly from Lightroom Classic. So Lightroom is my email program now. Okay? It'll come from training at Lightroom Mark. Okay, so I just type in there mark at crm.photography. Okay, test image. Okay. Alright. I can put a CC or a BCC. So if I want to see if I've sent it to my, I've sent it, I can send it back to myself without the person seeing it. And then now, let's just take that away. I press send. That's now, see top left hand corner? It's sent. Boom. That's it, it's gone. That email's sent. There's no record of me sending it though. That's why you would use the BCC to send a copy to yourself. But it's sent it, and you only have the server restrictions, not the mailbox restrictions, and they can be separate. So your mailbox might only allow you to send 5 megabyte files. Your server might be allowed you to send 50 megabyte files or 25 megabyte files. So that could be 25 1 meg files or one 25 meg file. So that's the difference between sending it via your client and Classic Direct. Yeah? But that's now gone and that's in. There we are. There it is on my phone. Okay, I sent it to myself, yeah? Or sent it to my other work account. So I'm sending it exactly, and this is what Tony asked me about, how was the best to send emails, because he does it in Photoshop, resizes them. Just set your preset and you can send multiple images. Okay, so if I show you this.
What can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What's the best size to send an email then?
Okay, so long as a piece of string. There is no. What do they want? Do they want to print it? You're going to send them the file to print it, yeah. So you might want to set. You have a preset and say send them a 2 megabyte file. Lightroom will work it all out for you and send the 2 megabyte file to them. Okay, that will give you a 10:8 print. All right, but bear this in mind. If you're going to email them 20 photographs at 2 megabytes each, you might fill up their inbox. Yeah? It's like the postman coming to you with a load of letters and shoving through your letterbox, and you've got a box. The postman's filled up your box. So you've now upset that person because they can't receive emails anymore. The postman can't put letters in their letterbox because you've just filled their inbox up with a load of photographs. Yeah, a load of files. And they would have to delete them. as in download, save them, put them somewhere, and so, which is why we use collections. Share the collection, turn on download. You're sending them a few kilobyte file or 5 kilobyte email with a link on it or an invite via Adobe to say, and if you give permissions to download the files, they can download the file from a collection, which is good enough for a 10 by 8 print. So this is what all this 4-6 weeks is all about. It's about giving you different options. You know, you might want to send one email to one person with a good enough quality for a 16 by 12 print. That's fine. Have a preset. 16 by 12 print. See, in the width and the dimensions, you put 16 inches by 12 inches, 300. Save as a preset. And then in the drop down, now, will your inbox send that size of file? Will they Will they receive that size of file? Their inbox might, you know, if I come with a parcel, Hermes comes along, won't go in the letterbox, can't deliver it. Exactly the same problem you get with email. My commercial boxes allow me to send 50 megabyte files. But who I'm sending them to might not. They might only have a 5 megabyte file box, a small letterbox. So there's no one simple answer, which is why we use people like WeTransfer, Adobe Creative Cloud, and we send them a link. They can then download it. And we'll look at all these things over the next 6 weeks. All right? There's no right answer for every situation. But if you just wanted to send somebody a load of pictures to look at, I would stick them in a collection and say, you can download them. They're there. I'm going to leave them there for a week. Okay? Which most of us know how to do that as a collection. All right? But we're going to look at web collections, portfolio, and the web module. What's the differences? They look the same. They can look identical, but there are some fundamental differences. Okay? Right, ease of use, cost, some are free. Right, and we're going to look at that over all the. So you'll come out and say, right, I'm not expecting you to remember everything, but you'll come out with all the different options of, I want a web gallery that's going to be permanently there, which is different from a collection shared in the cloud. Because if you unshare it and then reshare it, the URL is different. Okay, so we're going to look at all these different things and give you different options of how you can share your images. Okay? All right, so going back to email, you can email within your client, but you're restricted by your client's settings. Oh, there's another thing. Some email clients, so for example Gmail, you need to tell them that you're using a third party to send programs, so authorized apps and things like that. So Yahoo is the same, AOL is the same. I don't know about Apple Mail because I've never used Apple Mail. Okay, you may have to, you type in all your credentials, so your SMTP, which is like your letterbox. So your username and password and your settings, your web server settings, some of them are pre-programmed already in there. But then you still need to tell Adobe, like two-factor authentication, you need to tell, Apple in this case I'm talking about, or Gmail or Yahoo, yes, that was me, and yes, I want to use that service. So you have to go into your menu and tick, your account and security and tick so on. So it is a pain in the backside. But once you've got it set up, you don't have to worry about it again. All right. Any questions about that? Do you want me to go through it again? Presets and yeah, you want me to go through presets again?
No, just that bit what you were
The
saying.
email. Okay.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Anyone else want anything else going through? No. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll set up a preset. Show you how to do that. Okay, so we're going to create an email preset, okay? Email. Okay, so here we go. So an email preset, okay? So I'm just going to go, let's have a look. Email. All right, so I'm going to put it into there, I expect. So there. So email LRM. I haven't done anything. I've just saved the preset. This preset can be anything, okay? But it's the same Facebook settings, okay? So now I'm going to go right click, export email photo, and down here, there we go, email LRM. That's now going to send it how that preset was. Okay? How I set that preset up, there it is there. Okay? I can create a preset from in here. Okay? And where I did it, to show you again, okay, I changed the drop down to email. Okay? Rather than hard drive, email. Okay? And it reduced the options. Okay? And now it knows it's an email, and I've put it in user presets. Okay? But you can create your own folder and put it in there for email. Okay? So now you go email. All right? Now up comes the pop-up. This is from, it will say in here, Apple Mail. I haven't got Apple Mail on here, so I've got no mail client on here at all. But on your machine, it may say Apple Mail. It may, if it's a Windows machine, just say Mail, or it might say Microsoft Outlook or Microsoft Exchange, or if you're using another email client, whoever it is, that will Lightroom Classic will pick it up and it will have it there. And when you go send, it will put it in the outbox of that client. I haven't got that. I've set my own email client up on this machine just for Lightroom. So now you type in my case, that's the email address. If I want to, I could go, add emails in here, and I'd have an address book, just like your contacts. Okay. If I wanted a carbon copy or blind carbon copy, here, subject line. Okay. This is who it's coming from, and then this is the font of the text. Okay. So, I don't know. Hello, Mark. Okay, if I want to make it bold or light, bold or bigger, or change the color, I can do all that all in here, exactly the same as an email client, exactly the same. Okay. All right. Highlight it, make it regular. Alright, it's all there. Now if I wanted to do a series of images, let's just cancel that for a second. I come to the film strip. All I've done, I've gone shift click, I've shift click on all of them, right click, email photos. Look, there's all the pictures. Okay? But you may fill up the inbox. So you might want to put them as a small 800 pixels. It's a small file. Okay, and it would email them that way, so you can do more than one. Okay, it's really handy, but to be honest, I very rarely use it. Very rarely use it. What you could do, let me paint you a scenario. Okay, what you could do, right, rather than you log into Lightroom, you send that invite, and you get that email saying that Mark sent you a link to, and it comes from Adobe. Yeah, you could do the same thing here. Okay, you can say, right. So I'm going to go right click. So let's. I'm not syncing to the cloud, but you go and get the URL. So you copy it from up here. The URL synced in the cloud. Yeah. And then you could say, take this image here, and then go email. Hello, Mark. Link. I've pasted the link. Right. So that's the link that I've got from the collection. I've attached one photo from my photo walk last week. However, the link below is the gallery, or is the collection for you to comment on. Yeah, you to comment. Alright? Best. Oh, yeah? So I'm using both. They're getting a picture, a sample picture, as an email, but they're also getting the link, so I'm not filling their inbox up. And then I'll just send it. Okay? Does that make sense for everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah? So you're using both sides. You're not sending the invite, the Adobe invite. You're sending your own personal email with an image attached as a sample, if you want to say. And if you want to see some more from this event or this whatever, click on this link, which I've just copied and pasted.
Can they still download from that link?
Yeah, if you've turned that on, so you'd have to go into Lightroom or web browser and turn that on, yes. So you could put that in the text email. So you were telling me about your neighbour or something you were taking. You could send them one photograph with the link on it and put in your email that you've sent from Classic. So here's the link to the rest of the images. If you click top right hand corner on the three dots, it says download, and you can download the photograph, and the images or the files are good enough for a 10 by 8 print.
Yeah.
I'll leave it there for 2 weeks and then take them off. Yeah? But it's all within Classic. And if you use your client, so Apple client or whatever, you've got a record of it. But if you don't, so I don't, email is an office thing for me. It's a PC thing. So never the two. My laptop's there, my PC laptop. I don't have email on here. My Mac is for graphics. Okay, so in my workflow, I BCC myself that I've sent that email, and it goes into my PC inbox. So I have a record that I've sent it if I want that. Yeah? I'm not cluttering up this Mac with useless emails. Yeah? That's my opinion. So email is a PC. It's an office admin thing. It's not a creative designy thing. Okay? Yeah, does that make sense for everyone? Yeah? It's a function that people don't use. They don't know it's there. The difficult bit is getting it set up once you've got the right, because the settings have to be 100%, and sometimes you've got them 100%. And when I checked everything today, because I've moved server, my firewall on my server, the port wasn't open, so I had to phone technical support and say, I'm terribly sorry, I'm a bit of a prat here, I've forgotten how to open a port, could you refresh my memory, because the firewall's got the port closed for ports 468 or 465, whatever. And he said, I'll do it for you, it takes 2 seconds. He said, it's done, thank you. So you might, but you can just look it up, and sometimes you just log in. You don't need to do that. Sometimes you log in, and Google says, click here, and it opens up this Apple Mail. I don't think there is any problems with Apple Mail. But I know Sue Clark, she's got a desktop. She hasn't got email on there. I would use the thing that I do, and then CC yourself for those few emails that you want to send from your computer. Because you think about it, if you put your email on your Mac, the people that use Mac for doing that, and you got 8,000 emails in your inbox, you've now got 8,000 emails on your computer that you do your images. How much space is that taking up? How much memory, RAM, and so on? And you're taking it away from your picture editing. Yeah? Which is why I don't have that on here. I think today I had about 400 emails today. Most of them were junk. Yeah, that if you multiply that out and it's going on this machine, it's filling up the junk. Yeah, I'm trying to keep this machine running as long as possible I can. That's why I quarantine PC. I buy a new laptop every couple of years, 700 quid. Yeah, I throw it away when it gets really, really slow. But my Mac laptop is 10 years old, 12 years old. Okay, I bought the top of the range, £3,000, but it still runs perfectly fine today that it did day one, because I don't do much web browsing on it. Alright, I only use it for Photoshop and Lightroom. And yes, now it's got a bit slow with the new stuff, but it's perfectly serviceable for using Lightroom and Photoshop away from here. And that's I think it was 2010, 2011, 2012 when I bought that. I don't have all this web browser this, web browser that, and so on, and the emails and so on. Still got the original drive in it and all the rest of it. So I buy a reasonable mid-range PC, 700-800 quid, run it a couple of years, throw it away, buy another one, or give it to the kids or whatever. Okay. Does anyone want me to show me anything again about those two things, presets and emailing? Nope. Anyone got any Lightroom questions? No?
I've got a thing about I've added keywords in Lightroom Classic, and I've made collections of things that are in the server, but where I've not put I've changed the keywords. I can't seem to sync the two. What have I done wrong?
Okay, so I'm trying to understand what you've done. Because you're using words that may be...
Yeah.
Okay.
When I brought my photos in, I've sort of put them in a collection.
Okay, so the photos are in a collection in on the bottom left-hand corner, yeah?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then they're synced with Lightroom.
Yeah.
But I changed the keywords in Lightroom Classic, and then the ones in Lightroom are not syncing with the ones in Lightroom Classic.
Well, they should be. They're different files then. Each image has what they call a fingerprint.
Yeah.
That fingerprint's unique in the cloud.
What am I doing then?
Do you want to share your screen and show us, or do you want to do it for another day? Whatever you do in Classic. So one thing that my workflow in Classic, I have a folder set. Well, I'll show you. Okay, so I have down here, let's close this bottom left hand corner, I have a folder set, a Classic set called LR Cloud, and these are the images that are in my collections in the cloud, or they're in albums in the cloud. When I unsync them but I still want to keep them, I take it and I drag it and I move it out. So this is everything that's in this collection set, and I might have another collection set underneath it. So I might have underneath there salt marsh. Alright. Okay, that's a collection set, and in there I might have 3 or 4 different collection. So collection collection 1. I'm just putting that in there, collection 1, okay? Alright, and that might be it might be a date that I went on, or it might be a different this, different that, or whatever. And there's another collection, but they're all of the salt marsh. Then I'll have but these are all in the cloud. Okay, I might have another in this up here, right? Well, these are in the sort one. These aren't in the cloud. Now, if I want these images to be in the cloud, okay, I will now copy them as a virtual copy and put them in the cloud. Okay?
Why aren't they in the cloud?
These, because they're not in these folder structures. This folder structure, I'm making them all nice, neat and tidy. These ones are only in the cloud, or would be if I sync them in the cloud. Okay? These ones, I don't want to share them with people at the moment. I don't want to see them all 384 images. This is my workflow, okay? But I might sit there and go, right, I want that one in the cloud, and I want that one in the cloud, okay? Then I'll sync, and only these two are in the cloud. And because they're only a link back to the original image, I can just delete them out of the collection. They're still in that collection here. They're still there. Right, there they are. Right, they're only links to the original.
I'm sorry, I'm really confused now. You've really confused me.
Yeah, I
Because
am.
I thought
Yeah.
if they were in a collection,
Yeah.
In the cloud.
synced with the cloud.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
What?
You don't have to have You do not have to have collections in the cloud. Collections are albums. Okay, so let's paint you a scenario. Let's paint. You've got a photo album, right? You've got your negatives, your album, which has got your prints in. The negatives go underneath the bed in the shoebox. That's your folders. The album is your prints.
But if you import, when you import,
Yep.
and you add to the collection
Yep.
on import,
Yep.
that then syncs.
You don't have to sync it. You can just
How do you stop it?
You just don't put it in the cloud. You don't tick the synced.
How? Like you're just melting my brain.
Right, okay. So I'm painting the scenario. Your folders, your negatives go in the box underneath the bed. Your collection is your photo albums, your prints. Right? Now, I don't want you to see my prints. They're my prints. They're mine. They're not yours. Right? That photo album is on my bookshelf in my living room. Hang on. It's not synced in the cloud. I haven't ticked the sync box. Right? It's my photo album. It's my photo album sitting on my shelf. Right? But I want to say, Sue, hello darling Sue, here's my photo album. I'm going to give it to you to look at. I've ticked the box and synced it in the cloud.
I don't think I've ever been aware of that.
Right. Now, hang on.
Here, or is anyone else having a meltdown?
Make my evening, so.
Right? Okay.
Having a meltdown.
Oh, look, someone's having biscuit. Right. Okay. So this is where I'm now going to throw in a googly. You can sync in the cloud, but keep it private. So why would you do that?
Don't want no one to see it.
Yeah, but why would you do that? Right, so we've got our negatives. They're in the folder structure. They're in under the box in the bed, under the bed. Yeah, right. That's how we've now made our collection. That's the pictures we're working on. I like this one. I don't like this one. It's a private collection. It's a collection. It's not synced in the cloud. It's on the bookshelf at home. Right. But I'm now going to tick it and put it in the cloud. What does this allow me to do with this photo collection if it's in the cloud?
Can edit it somewhere else.
I can take this with me, not give it to you, Sue. I can take this with me and sit on the bog and have a read. I don't have to give it to you, do I? And that's syncing it in the cloud, but not making it public. Not sharing the link or tick to make public.
Well, I feel that that's information that's been
I've told you that millions of times.
Can you show us where these tick boxes are?
Thank you, David. You're supporting my
I haven't done a biscuit and coffee.
Right. Okay. So you go on a collection. You go right click, sync into the cloud, or to the left there's a little tick box, and it syncs it in the cloud. When you create your collection,
So this is when you import. You've got that.
when you create the collection. Okay. So hang on. So we go collection. Look. Right, it will have a tick box here. I'm not syncing with the cloud at the moment. It's got a tick box, sync with the cloud. You can go.
When you import, when you do that,
You-
import.
Yeah, right. So you create your collection first, sync it with the cloud, and then you go import,
Right.
and then go under file hand and add. And this one here is already synced to the cloud. Got me? This collection that I'm going to add them to is already in the cloud. But you don't have to make it public. Alright? So my story of I put everything in a collection, that collection's synced to the cloud. I haven't made it public. It's in my private. I'm taking this to the bog and I'm sitting there looking through. I like this picture. I don't like this picture. I haven't shared my toilet roll with you yet. And I might only want to share it with David. I don't want to share it with you, Sue. Yeah? Right?
Only to give you a kiss.
Yeah, only if I give you a kiss because I miss him. And for those who late don't know that joke. But anyway, but yeah.
My thing is mine is synced with the cloud.
Yeah.
I've not made it public, but just from me.
Yeah.
So if I look at Lightroom on my phone,
Yeah.
it's not got the right keywords because I've changed the keywords after I made the collection.
Well, that's fine because it should just be live. It should totally be live.
Keywords, I've changed the keywords.
Okay. In classic, make one of the images black and white. Let it sync and see on your phone in the collection in the cloud, does that picture go black and white? You can undo it, no problem at all. Because my first gut reaction would be that's not the same image. It's a duplicate or whatever, or it's you've imported them to Lightroom and that you got duplicate files somewhere or something like that. Because the principle of it's a fingerprint.
Yeah, that's what I thought you said.
Yeah. And I call it a fingerprint because it's an easy way people know that fingerprints are unique. So when it goes into the cloud, it's a unique fingerprint smart preview. Okay?
I love it.
All right? Okay.
Got that.
So am I blowing your kisses now, David?
That's not only my kisses.
All right, okay. You go on, David. Got a question? Or are we just taking the mic? Okay. Right, I've got a question for people because somebody asked me this, and no names mentioned, and I'm still working on the workflow. So people are going on holiday, etc., and so on. Lightroom Classic is a single catalog program. Yes, you can put the catalog on an external drive, take that with you and do it elsewhere and so on, but it's not the way the system was built. Okay? You're going on holiday. You're taking loads of pictures, but you don't want to buy the extra storage space in the cloud, or you haven't got a lot of internet connection, or you're going abroad and data is expensive, and you don't want to go and run out and buy extra storage, you don't want to run out and go and buy extra chips and so on, but you've got an external drive. Okay? So, does this interest people with this solution? That you take a load of pictures with your camera, you import them onto your drive on your laptop or an external drive, a little portable little drive that you can pick up for 40 quid now for a couple of terabytes. And you put all your pictures from your camera and your, no, not your phone, just your camera, on that external drive, okay? And you can then view them with a file browser called Bridge, okay? The ones that you really like and you want to edit and share, because Bridge is like the grid view in the library module, okay? But it's single image application. It only does one yes, we're keeping the conversation simple so I understand it. It's one image at one time, okay? Yes, there are ways of creating actions and all the rest of it, but we're not going to talk about that because that's complicated. But you can see an image and go, I really like that one. I want to put that on Facebook. We can take that image from Bridge and it will import. You took 300 photos today. You don't want to put 299 of them online. You only want to put that one on Facebook via Lightroom. Okay? So from Bridge, we go to it. You double click on it. It goes from Bridge into Lightroom. You can do your edits, your keywording, your data. It'll sync it to the cloud. And when you come home, it'll be in classic how you left it. Okay, so all the edits you've only done once. That's what I'm saying. Okay? But you've only uploaded or edited that one photograph, not the 299 that you took. You do the 299 when you come back and you import them into classic in the normal way. Does that make sense what I've just said? Yeah? Does that interest you?
Yes.
Because I'm working on a workflow at the moment of you can look at your pictures just like in the grid view. Okay, so let me just show you something really quickly. Okay, so okay, so this is Bridge. You can customize all this. Okay. Just waiting for it to load up. Take a little while. Right, so these are images that and different cameras will work in a different way, okay? But you basically copy them all from your camera, and there are applications out there that the camera manufacturers do. SnapBridge is one. There's Summit Essentials for Canon, etc., which you put on your computer and you just plug your camera in via the cable, turn it on, and it goes bing, 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 and it says, do you want to copy all your pictures off your chip to your hard drive? And you can set up the hard drive location as a memory. But we've got this image here. We can sit and go, oh, what picture do I want? I want to edit. I want to edit that picture. I don't want to do the rest. So we can double click on it. He says, open with, oh, I haven't done it yet. Open with Lightroom. All right. And this image is now going to import into Lightroom. There we go. It's in Lightroom. Sorry. Okay, there it is in Lightroom. I can edit it in Lightroom. All right. Okay. And that will then go into Classic when I come home. Okay, so all the keywords, all the metadata and everything, but I've only done the one image. So you're on holiday, but you want to share that one image or two images or three images. They will go into Classic when you come home. You tick do not import duplicates. So when you import your hard drive with all your 2 weeks holiday photographs on them, it doesn't import the ones that you've put into Lightroom when they've synced. Okay? So there's a few little stumbling blocks that I'm coming across. I'm trying to work a workflow of, so you don't spend the 10 quid in having and using expensive or slow internet connection, but you want to edit 1 or 2 pictures, put them on social media of your holiday or whatever, or share them with friends and family. Yeah? Have them on a drive, but you're not doing the work later when you come home. You're doing it with a glass of Chardonnay, feet up, yeah? And all this you're paying for already. It's working out the best way or the easiest ways to do it. Okay? And there's a few little stumbling blocks I've got at the moment regarding metadata. You can add metadata to Bridge, but I can't get that metadata yet at the moment. There's probably a tick box buried deep away that I can't quite find yet that takes all that metadata. So when I import it into Lightroom, it brings all that metadata across. So for example, I went to X today. I could put all those as keywords and then edit them 3 or 4 days later when it's pouring with rain and we're not going anywhere, and I remember where they were because the keywords were on them. Yeah, so all these little things, but yeah. Okay, anyone got any Lightroom questions before we call it a night?
No, we all got to go now.
Have we? Because you've got to go and buy some more biscuits. You've eaten all the biscuits. I ate all the pies.
Another question.
Sorry?
Before Sue asks another question.
All right, girls. Right then.
No questions.
Did you sort out your cash problem, Bobby?
Yes, that I have. I've got another one, but I'm not going to go into that.
Okay. What, another problem or another question?
Another problem.
Okay. Right. So next week we're going to look at collections and the web gallery module. Okay. All right. And I'm going to show you. We know about a lot, so we'll gloss through collections quite quickly. All right. Syncing collections, sharing collections, ticking the boxes.
Can you do that again?
Yeah. Right, ticking the box. Sending the emails. We'll look at sending the emails from Adobe, sending the emails from Classic yourself. So what I've showed you tonight, I'll make sure my cloud's all connected again properly. For some reason it's not. It is now, but it wasn't before. So we'll look at that, and we'll look at the web module, which I don't think I've ever shown you the web module, because you need, the reason why, and I'll touch on it very, very briefly, you need somewhere to put your website. In Lightroom Classic, you can have a website, and it runs all within Lightroom. You can design it, you can do everything, which we're going to touch on next week, and what the difference is between the two. But you need somewhere, you need some hosting to do that. Okay, which is normally another cost. Okay, which there are free hosting out there, but there are advantages to doing and disadvantages to doing it. Okay. All right. Last chance. Any more questions?
No.
Okay. Well, for those coming back, safe journey home, and don't forget my Grandmière coffee. Thank you. He didn't hear me, did he? What? Yes, a friend of mine came back from France and bought me my favourite coffee back, so don't worry, David. I've actually nearly had it all now. But yeah, okay, well, lovely to see you all.
Thank you very much.
In the link is the graphic. Hopefully it answers some questions. And say for the next 3 to 6 weeks, we'll be continue on getting your images out of Classic. So print, web, slideshow, etc. All right. Yep. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. Enjoy the weather. Bye.